This course is designed to provide marine engineers and support staff with an introduction to the application and use of fuel treatment products. This course includes sections on fuel oil refining, marine fuel specification, and WSS approach to fuel treatment. There is a section on fuel oil bunkering and testing, the fuel oil system pre-combustion, the engine system combustion, and the exhaust system post-combustion. Marine fuel oil originally comes from oil exploration. Crude oil is extracted all around the world and shipped to a refinery where it is split up into different components through distillation processes. The main components are gas, automotive gasoline and diesel, lubricant feedstock, petrochemical feedstock, marine diesel oil, and residual or heavy fuel oil. This e-learning focuses on marine diesel fuel and the heavy fuel oil used on marine vessels. The marine fuel specifications define the requirements for fuels used in the marine market. There are two main specifications, one for the distillate marine diesel oil and another for the residual heavy fuels. There are several different qualities specified within each category. Fuel bunkering is the process of pumping fuel from a shore tank or a barge onto a vessel. This is potentially a very dangerous process, the most common accidents being fires or accidental spillages. To avoid these risks, it is very important to follow correct bunkering procedures. The quality of fuel ordered by the vessel depends on the type of engines the vessel has and where the vessel is sailing. There are different regulations around the world that sometimes require the vessel to bunker a certain quality of fuel. As the fuel is bunkered, ownership passes to the vessel, so it is important to make sure the correct quantity has been delivered and to take samples for analysis to ensure the fuel quality is to the specification that was ordered. During bunkering, it is vital to take fuel samples for analysis. This is done with special sampling equipment by one of 4 different techniques. The most common and economical is the third method, usually referred to as a drip-type sampler. With this type of sampler, a representative sample of the bunkering can be taken and sent for analysis. The sampling is done at the MARPOL sample point, which should be as close as possible to the point where the ownership of the fuel changes to the vessel. When a representative sample of the bunkering has been collected, the sample is sent to an analysis company. In this example, it is DNVPS who receive the fuel sample, including the information on what specification to test the fuel against. After shipping, handling and analysis, a report is submitted by the lab to the vessel, which in many cases has already sailed, which can be an issue if the lab has found a problem with the fuel. Since there is a time lag from when the oil sample is sent for analysis to when the results come back, it is very useful to be able to do basic testing on board the vessel. In our range, we offer both drip samplers in many different sizes, as well as the sample bottles and mailing packages. The sample bottles and the cartons for sending the samples to the lab are made to specification, and the drip samplers are approved by Lloyd's. At Wilhelmsen, we have a wide range of on-board testing kits that are an excellent complement to the compulsory MARPOL tests. The diesel bug, which causes the microorganism problems in distillate fuel, is actually a range of microorganisms living in the fuel system and feeding on the oil. These diesel bugs include bacteria, yeast, and molds. The drive towards more environmentally friendly fuels is making these problems worse. Today, sulfur is actively removed from the distillate fuels, but sulfur is a natural bug killer, so as sulfur levels are reduced, this natural protection against microorganisms is reduced. Modern distillate fuels also include biofuels, which are a better food source for bacteria, again increasing the likelihood of contamination. Biofuel is also good at capturing water, which the diesel bugs need to survive, and this also increases the risk of diesel bug contamination. Diesel bug contamination can lead to serious consequences for the fuel system and the vessel. Their acidic byproducts are very corrosive, and if these are not treated, there is a risk of catastrophic failure to the fuel system. The Wilhelmsen Ship Service diesel bug test is a very simple and rapid way to identify diesel bugs in the fuel system. After a sample has been drawn, it takes 10 minutes to do the test, and you will know if there is contamination or not. If contamination is found, swift action can be taken to minimize the consequences. There are many types of fuels on the market, most of which are perfectly safe to use and create minimal problems. The trouble is, how do you know which fuels need to be treated? And this problem can be solved with our onboard analysis equipment. This equipment, together with reports of symptoms on board the vessel, can usually give a clear picture of the situation and how the fuel should be treated. Once the problem has been identified, you can choose the correct product or solution and then apply it in the best possible way. Sometimes pouring the product into the storage tank is enough, but generally a proper dosage system is needed to ensure correct mixture of the product into the fuel. Successful treatment of the problem will depend on all three factors: identifying the issue, choosing the correct solution, and applying it so it can perform in the optimum way. The fuel system on a vessel is made up of three main parts: the fuel delivery side, the combustion side, and the exhaust side. In fuel treatment terms, we call these pre-combustion, combustion, and post-combustion. As mentioned earlier in this e-learning program, there are a number of factors that contribute to the increasing numbers of bacterial contamination cases. When an infection has been discovered, a biocide has to be used to kill off the unwanted bacteria before they cause more harm to the fuel system. Bacterial contamination causes a number of common problems, such as sludge formation, rapid corrosion of the fuel system, filter blockage, fuel injector corrosion, and bad odour. As well as corrosion caused by acidic byproducts, another consequence of microbial growth is sludge formation. As a result, filter blockage can occur with the need for daily cleaning of the fuel filters. Biocontrol MAR71 is able to decontaminate fuel that is already contaminated by microbial growth. Biocontrol MAR71 can also be used as a preventative measure to avoid microbial growth in storage tanks. Two forms of water can be found in oil: free water and bound water. Free water, which is all the water that freely separates from the fuel, is usually easy to remove. But the bound water, while it is usually a small fraction of the total water in a fuel, is much more difficult to extract. In many cases, an emulsified layer forms at the interface between the oil and water, much like a salad dressing when it is shaken. This emulsion is sometimes difficult to separate, and then a product like gamma break is needed. Gamma break rapidly breaks water in oil emulsions in all grades of fuel, assisting water removal in the settling tank and fuel centrifuges. Gamma break breaks water in oil emulsions by lowering the surface tension between the two phases. It is insoluble in water and remains effective even after the water has been removed. Centrifugal separation of catalyst fines is improved, reducing abrasion damage. Modern refining processes can lead to fuels with limited stability. External factors like temperature, light, and oxygen can also reduce the stability of a fuel. This can lead to discoloration, corrosion, poor atomization, and injection fouling. With long-term storage of fuel, these factors can have a severe impact on the performance of the fuel and can lead to negative effects on the fuel handling system. Our diesel fuel stabilizer contains components that will stop deterioration of the fuel. Diesel fuel stabilizer is a multifunctional distillate fuel oil additive. It is used to improve lubricity, help maintain colour and stability, control the formation of organic sludge, and inhibit corrosion. Diesel fuel stabilizer also disperses accumulated deposits. It may also permit the blending of otherwise incompatible fuels and allow the use of less stable fuels. Diesel fuel stabilizer reduces filter clogging, injector sticking, and the corrosion of bunkers and fuel lines. Fuel stability is a common problem area for heavy fuels today, especially in blended low-sulfur heavy fuel oils. In these fuels, heavy components called asphaltenes have a tendency to agglomerate and form sludge. Fuels contain components intended to ensure stability, but in some cases the balance between these and the fuel is disturbed. One example is when blending two fuels. When blended, the stabilizing components go into solution, leaving the asphaltenes. Then the asphaltenes can start to form larger particles, and when these become large enough, they start to separate from the fuel, forming sludge. This sludge is problematic for the fuel system and will cause separation and filter issues, as well as bad combustion with resulting soot formation. As previously mentioned, asphaltenes become unstable when the natural stabilizers leave the asphaltene molecules. The destabilizing process of a fuel can be stopped by adding a product that replaces the natural stabilizers in a fuel. These added stabilizers find the asphaltene molecules and attach themselves to the asphaltene molecule, stopping further growth of the asphaltene particles. This means that the asphaltene molecules will still be in suspension and will not separate from the bulk of the oil. From WSS, Fuel Care contains these stabilizers and will, when added, actively replace the natural stabilizers to ensure the stability of the fuel. Fuel Care prevents and disperses sludge, stops separation of fuel in tanks, breaks water in oil emulsions, and gives a better separation of water and sediments from oil. It also provides a more homogeneous fuel for combustion. Vessels' bunker lines remain cleaner, and filter blockages are reduced or prevented. Centrifugal water and contaminant separation is made more efficient, and all system components stay cleaner. Modern residual fuels contain many heavy components that are difficult to burn. This causes a delay in the combustion, which means that smoke remains in the flue gas and is emitted to the environment. Poor combustion leads to a range of possible problems, such as formation of smoke, carbon deposits on the fuel nozzle, carbon deposits on the piston crown and exhaust valves, and carbon deposits in the exhaust gas boiler. Dual Purpose Plus is a concentrated combustion improver with fuel conditioning properties for heavy fuel oils. The catalysts in Dual Purpose Plus react with heavy fuel particles during combustion. The fuel ignition temperature is reduced, resulting in increased combustion efficiency with less carbon left to form smoke and soot. The engine and exhaust system are kept cleaner with longer service life and less maintenance. Deposits in combustion systems are mostly caused by ash components in the fuel. These ash components have a low melting point, are in a liquid state when leaving the combustion chamber, and are very sticky. The melted ash condenses on a surface that is cooler and hardens, forming a deposit that is difficult to remove. Products can be used to increase the melting point of the ash so it is dry and not sticky when it leaves the combustion chamber. The melting point of the ash depends on the ash components of the fuel, and presence of vanadium and sodium in the fuel is a warning sign. Valve Care is specially formulated for treatment and reduction of corrosive deposits formed on exhaust valve seats and turbocharger components. Valve Care physically modifies fuel ash, raising the melting points of the ash above the normal engine operating temperatures. Modified ash particles are solid, small and non-adhesive, and are ejected with the exhaust gas stream. Exhaust systems remain cleaner, and any ash that is formed is friable and easily removed by conventional methods such as brushing. Sometimes the problem comes from more than one source, and it is not uncommon for fuels to have more than one issue. In this case, the problem is twofold, both smoke and deposits on the valve. It is important to associate the correct product with the correct problem. Dieselite is a multifunctional fuel treatment containing combustion catalysts and ash modifiers. It is intended for use in diesel engines and boilers burning residual fuels. Carbon residue formation during combustion is inhibited by catalysts that lower the ignition temperature of heavy asphaltenic particles. The combustion time is consequently increased, leading to a reduction of tar deposits and carbonaceous fire scale. Ash modifiers combine with fuel combustion ash to raise the sinter and melting points of the ash above the engine or boiler normal operating temperatures. High-temperature corrosion is minimized, reducing maintenance and extending service life. Particles in the exhaust gas are unavoidable from a modern diesel engine running on heavy fuel. These particles leave the combustion and follow the exhaust system through the exhaust gas boiler and out through the funnel as smoke. In many cases, the soot is wet and sticky and is caught on the tubes in the exhaust gas boiler. This creates a layer of unburned carbon particles that are insulating, which reduces the efficiency of the exhaust gas boiler. The soot layer has a large impact on the efficiency of the exhaust gas boiler. This loss in efficiency is not the only risk of building up soot layers. The buildup of soot also increases the exhaust gas temperature, and there is a risk of the soot igniting, starting a fire in the exhaust gas boiler. There is a simple triangle that explains what is needed for a soot fire to be initiated: soot deposits, oxygen, and ignition. All these three parameters need to be present to cause a fire. Thankfully, this happens on rare occasions, but when it happens, it can have catastrophic consequences for the vessel. Soot remover liquid is formulated for effective prevention of soot and fire scale deposits in boilers and diesel engine exhaust systems. If fire scale is allowed to form on heat exchangers, the resulting loss of efficiency can be directly related to extra fuel consumption. The normal ignition temperature of soot is around 600 degrees Celsius, so it only burns in the hottest parts of the boiler or diesel exhaust systems. The catalytic action of soot remover liquid reduces the ignition temperature of the soot to less than 220 degrees Celsius. The carbon deposits are then ignited, leaving an easily removable ash. The use of soot remover liquid not only provides greater fuel efficiency, but also prevents acid formation in areas where severe corrosion could result in expensive damage, such as heat exchangers and economizers.